Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. In this episode, I'm going to talk about some recent video game news that's caught my eye. I want to start this episode off with something that really fascinated me. While Nintendo is happy enough with their Super Mario Maker, one fan wanted to go a step beyond that and make a Mario 64 Maker. Super Mario 64 Maker is a download for the PC that you can play via an emulator, like Project 64. You can download it and just start creating. You place objects in the world using the same camera viewpoints that you would as when you're playing the game. You can drop pretty much anything in there, from enemies to checkpoints to various pieces of terrain and backgrounds. And you can change the size of a lot of those things as well. Now, I played through this a little bit just to test it out, and it's not as fast or as neat as the original Super Mario Maker by Nintendo, but remember, that was made by a professional game company. And for what this guy did, it is absolutely incredible and definitely worth checking out. And if you're interested in trying out Super Mario Maker 64 for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description. Moving on to the Wii U, I hope you weren't too attached to Miiverse, because with a recent patch update from Nintendo, data miners have actually unearthed some information showing that Miiverse will be ending very soon. Buried deep within the Wii U system update 5.5.2, the following text has been found. The Miiverse service has ended. Miiverse and any software features that make use of Miiverse are now unavailable. Back when Miiverse got started, Nintendo touted it as being a rival to a social media network like MySpace or Facebook, and it clearly didn't work out that way. But I do have some fond memories of what I found while browsing the Miiverse. And sticking with Nintendo and their social technologies, the Nintendo Switch Online app is now available on iOS and Android platforms. Initially, this app will make use of game-specific services like Splatnet 2 for Splatoon 2, but it will be expanded for their entire online library as soon as it gets those. And as expected, the voice chat that goes along with this setup is absolutely ridiculous. But I haven't used voice chat since it first came out on original Xbox. It never really worked as well as I thought it would in theory, so I always like just playing with friends on the same couch. But for those of you who are looking for a quality voice chat app, this probably isn't it. And for those of you who've been following the developing story on the new Atari Box, Atari has come out with some new information. Well, actually just new pictures. While I feel like this console is going to be like a NES, SNES Classic with old Atari games, I'd be shocked if it doesn't actually also include some Lynx and Jaguar games as well. I feel like that would give it a leg up on the competition as far as having the entire Atari library on one console. Hell, maybe even the modern games that they make for Xbox and Xbox 360 and Xbox One and PlayStation 4, if they could somehow find a way to license those onto this machine, this thing would be a huge console in itself. But knowing that it's probably going to run off of something similar to a Raspberry Pi, most likely it wouldn't even be able to handle those AAA titles. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because some of those newer games should probably remain buried. I do feel like this Atari Box is going to be a whole lot more than just an NES or SNES Classic console, because Atari's licensed its games out to AtGames to create the Atari Flashback console, and AtGames is also making the Genesis Flashback console. And those are going to do exactly what the NES and SNES Classics are. So this Atari Box has got to have something more to it. And speaking of the Sega Genesis Flashback and Atari Flashback consoles, those are going to retail for $80 and be available this fall. The Sega Flashback will have 85 games and HDMI out, it will be able to play carts, and it will output at 720p. The Atari Flashback 8 Gold likewise retails for $80, but this console comes preloaded with 120 titles, including Pitfall, Space Invaders, and Frogger. 2 wireless Atari 2600 controllers are included, and an additional 2 ports for wired ones. Also supports 720p HDMI output, and features scanline filtering and the ability to save, pause, and rewind for every single title. The 2 Flashback consoles are the high-end offerings that AtGames lineup. Company has also announced several other versions of Sega and Atari consoles, which will retail for $60 each, and likewise release this fall as well. Which is extremely confusing for most consumers to have a multitude of consoles to choose from. I truly feel like Nintendo did this one right, where it was just one console and people could buy it and know what they're getting. With the way AtGames is approaching this, with a multitude of consoles and complicating what each comes with and what each of them is able to do, I feel like it's going to confuse the consumer to the point of not knowing which one to even buy. The animated Castlevania series on Netflix that recently debuted has received outstanding reviews from critics, and it's only 4 episodes long. It's made people want a whole lot more from it, and thankfully it has just been renewed for a season 2, this time with 8 full episodes instead of just 4. The Castlevania series is the first video game adaptation to get a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. No video game movie has ever rated at or above 60%. This includes big budget films like the new Assassin's Creed movie or World of Warcraft. And assuming that Rampage, starring The Rock, coming out in 2018 follows suit, then that's not going to change anytime soon. And also, an Assassin's Creed animated series is in the works from the Castlevania series producer Ali Shankar. Ubisoft has yet to make an official announcement on this, but Ali Shankar went ahead and talked about it on his Facebook page. And one more video game adaptation to film to talk about here. A Mega Man movie is finally happening. Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman, the directors who previously made Paranormal Activity 3 and 4, have finally attached themselves with 20th Century Fox to make a Mega Man movie. While Capcom hasn't officially announced anything on this yet and it's still in its infancy, people have been talking about this since 2015, and this is the first major milestone to actually making it real. Anyways, that's all I got for updates this time in the news segment. Let me know what's caught your eyes in the comments below, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys later.